The Ministry of Business, Department of Consumer Affairs, the United Minibus Union (UMU), has fully endorsed the new guideline put in place by the Ministry of Public Infrastructure that prohibits operators of public transportation from carrying more than one half of the amount they are licensed to transport. The Ministry of Business, via a media release, underscored its full support for the measure, noting that it invariably ensures that the 3 feet safe distance that offers some amount of protection to both operators and commuters from being infected with COVID-19 is being adhered to. However, this new measure has not found favor with many bus operators who told this newscast that they are finding it difficult to adhere to the regulations since they have to make ends meet for their families. Several Route 41 drivers expressed off camera that carrying a reduced load of passengers would not be a feasible venture and suggested an increase in fares as a means of compensation. However, the United Minibus Union President Ian Andrew is repulsed by the proposal put forward by the operators. He described it as heartless.
This is a time when we have to be a brother's keeper. The boats are carrying 3 that used to carry 5. But based on all these different places, Route 42, and they're still charging the regular fare because it is imperative that at this time, in this pandemic and this thing that we've never seen before, this unprecedented occurrence, we need to be our brother's keeper. We need to give up something. So they're still carrying more than 2, many of those 41 buses. They're reaching people at different spots and they're full in the buses. And we do not agree. They have to take 120. There is a period when we have to make a national sacrifice.
Additionally, Andrews preferred the view that while operators will in some sense lose money, he is adamant that drivers need to understand that the current pandemic requires commitment, maturity, and sacrifice. He acknowledged that drivers who ply the longer routes and are subjected to paying bridge tolls may experience a bit of a challenge since they will have an additional cost incurred. Surprisingly, however, the union president relayed that the resistance have been originating from bus drivers operating the Georgetown route.
That route 41 especially, those routes around town, they always want this and want that. They're not, on paper, some of them would have been in the union. Now, the Route 41, they always seem to want to do something. There are a lot of Route 41 buses who are carrying the 9, 2 in a seat, and they're taking 120. They're a rogue set who charging people $200. The point we're making as a responsible union is that we're in a pandemic. This is a time when we have to be a brother's keeper.
The United Minibus Union head pleaded with drivers to desist from placing more than 2 persons in a seat and to regularly sanitize their vehicles. Guidelines prohibit public transportation, including minibuses and taxis, from carrying more than half of the licensed number of passengers, which means that minibuses can only carry up to 7 passengers, while taxis can only transport 2 passengers at a time. Conductors are also prohibited from operating during this time. Public transportation providers found in contravention of the Ministry of Public Infrastructure guidelines could face penalties including revocation of licenses, a fine of up to $1 million or face 6 months imprisonment. For the HDP Nightly News, Amel Griffith.